I'm attorney Justin Ziegler of JZ Helps Injury Law Firm. Today I'm going to talk about how to calculate an injury settlement amount. This formula, the settlement formula for a case, applies if someone else is at fault. The settlement formula I'm going to talk about now does not apply if the only one responsible for your accident is your employer. However, the settlement formula does apply even if you were hurt while work and someone other than your employer is at fault. If both sides evaluate the case properly, the case should settle. The claimant, which is you, has to come up with the case value. The defendant should come up with the case value, which they do, the insurance adjuster. And if both sides are evaluating it properly, the settlement should be right in the middle. Both sides should overlap. So they may be off $1,000, $10,000, $50,000, $60,000 in their evaluation, but the settlement should be an overlap of the claimant's value and the defense value, because there's not one exact number that the claim is worth. There's a settlement range. We're going to talk about the basic formula for an injury case. The general settlement formulas: first, you get the full value of the damages, which I'll get into in a moment. You multiply that times 100% times the chance of losing a case, which is also known as the chance of the defendant winning the case or it getting dismissed before it even gets in front of a jury. And then you multiply that times 100% minus your percentage at fault. You may have no percentage, but you need to know every part of this formula. If you do not know one part of the formula, you might as well not do the formula, because it's going to be way off and you're wasting your time. The insurance company will know this formula and they will do it accurately. The first step is to get the full value of your damages. Full value of your damages is generally the out-of-pocket medical bills or liens, which is the amount generally speaking, your health insurers pay or Medicare pays. You add that to your lost wages, and you add that to pain and suffering. The example I'm going to give to show you how we calculate the settlement formula is based on a $210,000 settlement, happens to be mine, where another truck rear-ended my client, who was a driver of another truck. He tore his labrum, which is in the shoulder joint. He also had a herniated disc. So this is the front of what the other truck looked like. And the values we're going to use are his out-of-pocket medical bills. Actually, what the workers' compensation insurer paid was $60,000 for medical bills. But again, there was a third party, someone other than his employer. The other truck was at fault. $60,000, $60,000 for medical bills, $70,000 in lost wages, and I came up with $160,000 for the pain and suffering component. It's also it is the most difficult component. It's the part of the equation that very few people, that non-attorneys generally will not know. But I factored for, in his particular case, and I'll get into it in a minute or so, that pain and suffering was based on his particular shoulder injury, and he had a herniated disc. So let's plug in the numbers. Full value equals out-of-pocket medical bills or liens plus lost wages plus pain and suffering. You see I'm substituting in the amount for medical bills. Here we go for lost wages and $160 for pain and suffering. I add them. $290,000 is the full value. But keep in mind, this full value hasn't yet factored in the other parts of the equation. So you then look at what are the chances that the defense wins the case outright, meaning it gets dismissed before a jury, or at trial the jury says the defendant did nothing wrong, claim is done. In this case, the insurance company, the adjuster, informally just speaking to me, said, listen, our driver was wrong. He rear-ended your driver. He didn't have any defenses. He didn't say that your client slammed on the brakes. So we get the settlement equals full value of damages, which is the $290,000 that we did early on, 100% minus my client's chance of losing the case. The insurance adjuster agreed it was zero, so you put zero in there, times 100% minus my client's percentage of fault. We plug in the numbers, $290,000 times 100% times chance of losing, which happens to be zero, in this case based on the facts, times 100% minus my client's percentage of fault. We plug in the zero here, $290,000 times 100% times 100%, and we stop here because this is part 3. So right now we're at settlement value equals $290,000 times 100% minus my client's percentage of fault, the injured person's percentage of fault. I already discussed this. It's very difficult to do without experience. I've been doing this for many years. Generally speaking, unless you're an insurance adjuster or personal injury lawyer, you're not going to be able to do the settlement value correctly. Now, it is easier to do in a rear-end case because you know the chance of the defense winning is generally zero unless they're alleging that you slammed on the brakes or witnesses are claiming that you slammed on the brakes. Step 3 is you now estimate your percentage of fault, if any. You may be at fault, you may not be at fault. And you can't do what you think is going to happen on your best day. You got to do what's fair. After all, you're going for fair settlement. If you want to settle the case, you're going for fair value. You're not hitting the lottery. So what you then do is you look, if the defendant is at fault, you say how much is the defendant's fault and how much is your fault. Again, if you're rear-ended, it's usually not your fault unless they're saying you slammed on the brakes. So we're going to use that same numbers from the formula above. The settlement value equals $290,000 times 100% minus your percentage of fault. In this case, the adjuster did not put any blame on my client, nor did I. So it'd be $290,000 times 100% minus zero fault on my client. The full value would be at $290,000. Now, I settled it earlier on, I said for $210,000. Why did I settle it for less than the full value of the case? I did because the defense doctor, and actually my client's treating orthopedic surgeon who actually operated on him, said my client did not have a shoulder tear. It was just fraying of the shoulder. He also said that the accident did not cause the shoulder tear. The defense doctor agreed, had the same opinion. Now, I sent my client to get a second opinion, and the doctor did say he had a shoulder tear and it was related. But in order to settle the case for fair value, what's fair, I discounted the value of the chance that we would not be able to prove that my client's shoulder injury was related to the accident. So I cut the pain and suffering of the shoulder in half. So I valued it initially for the pain and suffering of the shoulder at $135, and I put it about at $70,000. If you plug in those numbers, that's how I got to the $210,000. Don't use an online settlement calculator. Yes, I have one on my website. I use it as a starting point only. Again, it doesn't most of them do not factor in your fault. They don't factor in the chance that you'll be able to prove that the defense was at fault. They won't factor in the chance that you're able to prove that the accident caused your injury if you have difficulties proving that. Again, there's so many factors that also go into play. Keep in mind, I took a rear end accident for the example I gave you. That is the most basic situation. You know, there's slip and falls. There's accidents at intersections where there could be fault on both parties. There's all types of other accidents. And I say 76 factors. There's more than that, but there's so many factors go into these claims. It's not just you look online, you put in a few numbers, and you get the settlement formula. It's just not that easy. An attorney, as I said earlier, should know how to evaluate your case properly. I hope you got a lot out of this video. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Please comment below. Call me at 888-594-3577, 888-JZ-HELPS. We serve the entire state of Florida, or if you're injured on a boat or cruise, I would love to represent you.